you. Ladies and germs. So, Elaine Lancaster, Milo, Roger Stone, they should have called this the Blonde Ambition Tour. As I look around the room, I see the average age is deceased. And I know I was supposed to wear a costume. I thought long and hard about what I could wear that would be, terrifying. Thought about maybe being the Joker or Senator Palpatine. I suggested to my friend Milo that he come as Maxine Waters, then we reconsidered that. Although I do want to announce tonight that I will pay a $1,000 bounty to any citizen who can snatch that wig and bring me a video of the act. Now, I don't know how much you know about Maxine Waters. She doesn't live in the actual district that she represents. She lives in a $3 million mansion in Hancock Park, yet she represents one of the poorest, most destitute districts in the country. The people she represents, they can't afford carne asada, but she's living high on filet mignon just down the street. Now, she paid her daughter $675,000 from her campaign fund because, you see, Maxine Waters extorts the other Democrats up and down the ballot for her endorsement on what are called slate cards. She also pressured the U.S. government to bail out a bank, but she forgot to mention that she and her husband owned stock in the bank and that he was on the board of directors. Put it this way, if she were a Hispanic Republican, she'd be in jail right now. But I couldn't come as Maxine Waters. I did, as Jacob said, have a recent experience testifying before the House Intelligence Committee. I want to relate to you what this is like, but it's very hard. It's kind of like a proctological exam in a way. And it is disconcerting to me that for months, members of both the House and the Senate Intelligence Committees are able to trash you in public hearings, accusing you of being a traitor, working for the Russians, and all kinds of skullduggery. But when it's your turn to respond, oh, that has to be in closed session, no media, and of course, we can't release the transcripts. Isn't that un-American? Aren't you supposed to be able to face your accusers? And then there's this fellow, Adam Schiff. This guy looks like he has swallowed handsful of Ritalin. I mean, let me sum it up for you this way. If it's Schiff, flush it. I testified for the committee. I found the Republican members of the committee to be courteous, businesslike, and committed to getting to the bottom line of the simple question of whether there was any evidence whatsoever that Donald Trump or Trump associates or Trump friends or Trump campaign aides colluded with, conspired with, or coordinated with anyone in the Russian state or affiliated with the Russian state to affect the outcome of the 2016 election. And the answer is no. Many, many millions of dollars spent on investigating have not turned up a shred, not a scintilla of evidence to the contrary. And then there's the separate question of whether the Russians tried to interfere in our election by writing particularly poorly written Facebook ads and buying levels of them that affected virtually no one. Well, look, Boris and Ivan have got to tell their boss they've been doing something over here in the United States. And after all, we spent millions of your tax dollars electing Boris Yeltsin. We've interfered in their election. So perhaps the answer to that question is yes. Now, I want to echo what my good friend Milo said. The trend towards political correctness is just gone too far. I spoke at Fordham University the other night, a Jesuit institution. We had a terrific crowd. It was a great night. There were a small handful of misfits. And of course, we know the storyline. You're a white supremacist, you're a misogynist, you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're an anti-Semite. Well, let me make this clear. When you have an argument with somebody who's black, that doesn't make you a racist. When you disagree with a woman, that doesn't mean you're a misogynist. When you say that Ana Navarro is borderline retarded, it does not mean you hate all women. When you have an argument online or on the television or in cable with somebody who's Jewish, that doesn't make you an anti-Semite. Name-calling is the great tactic of the American left now. You see, they can't win on the merits. They can't win a true debate on the issues, so they seek to silence us. It is only because in 2016, the mainstream media lost their monopoly grip on the political narrative that we have a President Donald Trump. You see, they're used to the days when there were only 3 networks, and then slightly later 2 cable networks, and if it didn't happen there, it didn't happen. But you see, the internet has changed all that and has given rise to a vibrant, robust alternative media. It's given us InfoWars and Alex Jones. It's given us Breitbart and the Daily Caller. It's given us new stars like Tucker Carlson. Unafraid to speak the truth, unafraid to be politically incorrect. So now what's happening is the tech left, Yahoo, Amazon, Google. By the way, if Zuckerberg thinks we're electing a guy who only wears a t-shirt and a hoodie, he's got another thing coming. They seek to put the toothpaste back in the tube. They use their computer tricks to manipulate the algorithms to make sure that we can't reach the people we used to reach. It's extraordinary how virtually every day people I come across say to me, "Wow, I used to love your stuff on InfoWars. I guess you're not on anymore." Or, "I used to follow you on the Stone Zone or Stone Cold Truth. I guess you don't post that stuff at Facebook anymore." Well, we do, but you see, they manipulate the backstage to make sure we can't reach the folks we used to reach. It's a more subtle form of censorship. Or, your fake news, your fake news. No, let's be very clear. CNN, that's fake news. Jake Tapper, you're not a journalist, you're a bullshit artist. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't say something about Harvey Weinstein. Somehow the image of a peanut on a beanbag chair comes to mind. And he is indeed, when you analyze it, in terms of being a sexual predator, very, very similar to Bill Clinton. I'd say close, but no cigar. And then, of course, there's Hillary's new book, What Happened? You can find it in the fiction section at Barnes & Noble. And I don't know who wrote this piece of shit, but she did mention my name 3 times, none of it good. And for that, I am grateful. But what happened is the American people figured out that Bill and Hillary Clinton are the penicillin-resistant syphilis of the American body politic. of their lying. We're tired of their treason. We're in bed with the Russians? No. Bill Clinton sold military targeting, missile targeting technology to the Chinese in return for campaign contributions. And that, not getting a blowjob in the Oval Office, is what he should have gone down for. The president said it best on election night when he said, "We have won this election, but the battle has just begun." And we have seen a concerted effort by the deep state. Let me break that down for you. Who is the deep state? This is something that President Eisenhower called the military-industrial complex. It's the Pentagon, our intelligence services, and the defense contractors that they feed, and they make a fortune off of war. War is very profitable for some, and there are some who believe that war over Syria, well, that would just be peachy keen. Now let's look at that. On one hand, you have Assad. He finances Hezbollah. He finances Hamas, terrorist organizations, although not if you listen to H.R. McMaster. And they're propped up by the Russians. No friends of ours there. And on the other side, you have those double-dealing creeps, the Saudis. They're not our friends either. They just pretend to be, propping up ISIS and a dozen, or actually hundreds, of smaller Islamic fanatic offshoots. So I ask you, is this worth a drop of American blood? Is it worth a single borrowed American dollar? Well, I don't think so, and either did Donald Trump. You see, Trump has no illusions about the Russians. He knows their system is corrupt. He knows that they oppress Christians and gays and women. But he prefers peace over war. He prefers détente and hard-headed negotiations over thermonuclear holocaust. And that is the alternative. Yes, Hillary promised the neocons in the deep state a proxy war, an expansion of the proxy war, and God knows, perhaps a no-fly zone that would guarantee World War III. Donald Trump was not only the law and order candidate, he was the peace candidate. And that is what, since his election, we have seen a series of illegal leaks by those in our vaunted intelligence agencies that seek to undermine and delegitimize our president. When the President of the United States can't have a telephone conversation with a leader of another nation in the world without reading about it on the front page of the Washington Compost, something is wrong with our intelligence services. So when they say to you, the intelligence services say that WikiLeaks is a Russian vehicle and Julian Assange is a Russian asset, just remember, these are the same people who said Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. There was no torture going on at Abu Ghraib prison. This list goes on and on and on. They lied about the Kennedy assassination. They lied about Iran-Contra. They lied about the Vietnam War. And they're lying today about Donald Trump and the Russian collusion delusion.
That's right.
So let me sum up the claim that the Russians assisted Donald Trump. The president himself, I think, put it best when he said it was a witch hunt. It's a myth, a fairy tale, a canard, a steaming plate of bullshit. It's an excuse. You see, Hillary spent $2 billion and Donald Trump and his supporters spent somewhere around $275 million. Hillary had the old media for her, ABC, NBC, CBS, the two cable networks, and she had the new media for her. I'll give you an example. When Donald Trump's campaign put out a press release on Google, it was marked as a promotion. But when Hillary Clinton put out a press release, it was marked as an update. That is the difference between millions and millions of openings. And therefore, she had it rigged. We all know there was no way in hell that Donald Trump could possibly win. If you saw the last segment of The Circus on HBO, when they took me, frankly, to the Russian tea room for dinner, I was so excited I knocked my martini over twice. And the questioning went something like this. Well, surely, Roger, you now admit it's hopeless and your candidate has no chance, right? I would say, no, not right. It's not over until it's over. Oh, but surely you admit that there's no chance in hell and that Hillary's the sure thing. After about 2 hours of the same question being reworded, I left. Can you imagine how surprised these boys were on election night? No, our fight has just begun. Yes. And thank God that we have patriots like Milo, and like Steve Bannon, and like Alex Jones, and like Tucker Carlson, and like the people in this room, because you are the tip of the spear in this revolution. You are the folks who don't buy the claims of the two-party elitist duopoly that have run this country into the ground. Let us look for 1 minute at what the Bushes and the Clintons working together have given us. Endless war, costing billions, where our inherent national interest is never apparent. Erosion of our civil liberties. The super-secret FISA court declared in November that the NSA under Barack Obama had over 30,000 Americans under illegal, unconstitutional surveillance, including Paul Manafort, Carter Page, and yes, Roger Stone. No probable cause, no evidence that we've committed a crime, spying for political espionage reasons. This makes Watergate look like a milk-fed puppy. So I ask you, Rice, Brennan, Rogers, Clapper, why aren't these people in prison? I saw James Clapper the other night, I think it was on CNN, and he said that if Paul Manafort testifies before the Senate, Donald Trump will have to resign. That is really bullshit. But then, Mr. Clapper is the man who swore under oath that we had no metadata collection program in the U.S. government until Edward Snowden proved he was a liar. Why would any respectable news network, like, say, CNN, have a proven perjurer and liar on their show to begin with? Now, you have not only the whole-scale political espionage by the Obama NSA, but you also have the crimes of the Clintons through the Clinton Foundation, which was never a charity but a slush fund for grifters, yes, and the vehicle for the facilitation of multi-million-dollar bribes. And you even have now a new scandal in which Deborah Wasserman Schultz, every man's first wife, allowed two Pakistani brothers to burrow into the U.S. House of Representatives IT system, and when she was formally told by the Capitol Hill police that the Owan brothers were under investigation for theft of both data and money, she changed their designation within the House computer system from consultants to employees to ensure that their access would be uninterrupted. Consequently, she's an accessory. Jeff Sessions, would you please wake up and arrest this woman? About Jeff Sessions, because rather than prosecuting the crimes of the Obama NSA or the crimes of the Clintons or the crimes of Deborah Wasserman Schultz and the corrupt Democratic leadership, or looking into the very serious leaks of national security information, he's too busy trying to lock up people who use medicinal marijuana in the 29 states where it is legal.
I love weed!
Sadly, I have reached the conclusion that it is time for Jeff Sessions to resign, but not until his deputy, Mr. Rosenstein, is shit-canned. Special counsels are appointed when there is evidence of a crime and there's a legitimate reason why the Justice Department has a conflict of interest in the prosecution of that crime. Now, Attorney General Sessions recused himself, and then his deputy, the Assistant Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, decided to appoint a special counsel. Not at the direction of the president, not at the direction of the Attorney General. So on his own authority, Mr. Rosenstein, to prosecute exactly what crime? Here's the crime. Mr. Mueller interviewed for the job of FBI Director Comey the day after Comey was fired with the President of the United States and was passed over for that job. And that constitutes a conflict of interest, which is why Mueller should resign or be fired. And when the FBI conducts a raid on my colleague and friend of almost 50 years, Paul Manafort's home, to seize records they already have, or which could have been gotten simply with a request, and they go through his closet to take pictures of his custom Italian-made suits, which are not nearly as nice as the suit I am wearing right now. These are Gestapo tactics used to pressure Manafort to lie. Manafort, they say, just bear false witness against the President of the United States. Just say you were colluding with the Russians and Trump knew everything and we'll let you off the hook for the $15 candy you lifted at the local convenience store, or whatever other contrivance they come up with. I've known Paul Manafort most of my life, and I can tell you, he's no John Dean, he's no rat, and he will not lie about the President of the United States. So, with that, I hear a steak and a martini calling me, and therefore I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for being in this revolution. Thank my friend Milo for having the guts to face down the turds at BuzzFeed, which is my go-to site for cat videos. And thank you all for being here today. And I say to you in the immortal words of Colonel Jim Travis, victory or death.
Thank you very much. This question is also for Mr. Yiannopoulos. My name is Cameron Lilly. I was recently suspended and soon to be expelled from the University of Florida, all for making a Facebook joke about illegal immigration. I had a feminist on Twitter with 88,000 followers, directed all of her followers to send me death threats, and I have relatives that I haven't even met that got death threats as a result. I had spent 2 months completely underground. I missed God knows how many classes and almost failed out myself. My question to you is, although we do live in a country of free speech, and what turned me on to what you do is when you said that nobody can resist the truth rather than a good joke. And I thought that was true. I thought that was great. But it doesn't prevent the radical violence of the radical alt-left from coming after you when this happens. So my question is, how do we handle being in a situation where we do use free speech, but people attack us from out of the woodwork, and I might not even be able to finish my college education, even though I want to get out of there as soon as possible. So how do we handle this absolute ridiculous attacks on free speech, even though they can't get us in trouble for it legally, but they still try to just ruin your life no matter what?
Yeah, I'd be very happy to try and help you do that.
Thank you so much.
Let me say one other thing. Please. If you're not getting any death threats, you're doing something wrong. And this is true. After my testimony, my behind closed door secret testimony before the House Intelligence Committee, the average number of weekly death threats tripled. So I know I'm doing something right.
Hello, my name is Michael. I'm a representative of patriarchy. I'm here to suppress minorities, women, everyone. I'm the ultimate boogeyman, apparently. Boogeyman, me, singular. Anyway, Roger, how do you engage in debate with people that will do nothing more than to seek to denigrate your character and try to convince themselves and others that you as an individual are not to be engaged with because they have convinced themselves and others that someone is racist, sexist, or every homophobic, every transphobic? Like, how do you debate with someone that is just going to perceive you as some sort of boogeyman, like someone that's like a professional moral outrage? Also, Milo, is your costume someone that was attacked by a crazy hairstylist? Low blow.
I think what you are alluding to is a speech I was supposed to give to a cannabis business conference in Los Angeles a couple weeks ago, and a small group of dissidents using deeply flawed research from the Media Matters for Dog Shit organization, headed by that demented gnome, David Brock, objected to my speaking, and I was booted from the program. Whereupon I rented the hall across the street and had my speech, which was well attended. Last time I looked, I think it had 45,000 people had watched it on YouTube. You ignore them. Just remember the 3 rules. They are lay low, play dumb, and keep moving. Or admit nothing, deny everything, launch counterattack.
Hopefully you can see me through that spotlight. But I have a question for all 3 of you, actually. And I want to say, Milo, you were fabulous at Berkeley, by the way. I was front and center. But now that the Hollywood rotten core, horrible, monstrous castle is finally coming down around them, which every bit they deserve, what do you see as America? Because America kind of runs on entertainment, and I would say that all 3 of you are amazing entertainers. What do you see as filling that void once everyone obviously sees what has already become obvious, that Hollywood has nothing left to give? I mean, obviously, if you're making Iron Man 15, you know. So what do you see as the the void that is going to be filled, because obviously we all have insatiable appetites for entertainment.
Just remember this. Politics is show business for ugly people. The crap that they're turning out isn't entertaining. It's largely not watchable. And therefore the market will ultimately correct itself. But Anthony Weiner, Elliot Spitzer, Harvey Weinstein, is there a trend here? Do you spot a trend? Because I do.
Hi, I am Karen, and I have been a single mom for 12 years. I put my gay son through college, and I have taught a numerous amount of shit because I set up programs for helping gay sons, and my gay son wanted to be here tonight, but he was too scared to come. And that breaks my heart because I paid for the VIP, I paid for him the VIP, and I want to know, how do we take the fear away from our kids in this bullshit world we live in?
Look, if you worry about what people think of you, if you worry about what people say about you, you will never accomplish anything. You have to be fearless, you have to be focused, and you have to be committed.